Hi everyone, welcome back to the shows. And this is Mage Knights. What is that? Mage Knights is the first click-based game designed by WizKids. And this is a 300-point army of elves. And you can tell that by the point value that's on the base, which is normally located right here. The game was popular for a while, and then it died. We'll get to that later. And this over here is a 300-point army of Draconum. And this is my friend, T.J. Willington.
Well, Withington, actually, but thank you for the mispronunciation. This is a 300-point army of Draconum, and it is this is not a 300-point army, it's a 300-point gathering of Draconum. There's obviously a lot more elves than there are Draconums, but don't feel bad for the Draconums in this fight, because Draconums are mean and beefy.
Where they lack in, they make up in power where they lack in numbers.
Exactly. So today we're going to have a quick run through of some of the rules of Mage Knights. We're going to talk about what you need to play, and we're going to talk a little bit about the basic rules, and we'll play some of this out. These pieces that we fielded are from version 1.0 of Mage Knights.
It was deemed 1.0 after the release of 2.0, which we will get into later.
Yeah, originally they were just Mage Knight pieces, I guess. Nobody called them 1.0.
Yeah. It was just, you want to play Mage Knights? And people were like, hell yeah.
And then they broke it. But we'll get to that. What do you need to play this game, John?
Well, first off, you need a set of dice. 2d6s. You can use a 1d12. I don't recommend it. But you need 2d6s. They do not have to look like this. Usually the game comes with it. With a pair of dice. You will need a ruler of some sort. This is a standard Mage Knight ruler. It's double-sided. They have bigger ones. I do not have a bigger one today, but the bigger ones go up to about
28 inches.
28 inches. This one extends from 1 to 18 inches.
And this ruler, these are actual inch increments. So if you do not have one of these, a standard ruler will do.
Yes, and it even has an additional little space here. You'll notice that here's 1 inch. This little tab is so you can hold it and measure it out exactly, which was very nice.
Something that I found helps is if you have a sewing ruler.
Now, the reason, real quick, I'll cover this. I don't recommend a 1d12. You have 2 chances of missing. Remember, snake eyes, you're not hitting anything. Double sixes, it's fun times. Remember that. So,
traditionally, how one would start this game is setting up your army in strategic locations, given that there's going to be terrain, there's going to be various hindering blocks, and thinking about how your opponent will use that same terrain. Once everything is set up, we'll roll a d6 to see who goes first. John, please roll a d6. Well, he rolled a 6. I rolled a 6. That's a good old-fashioned roll-off.
Yeah. I rolled a 3. Alright. I rolled a 1.
Oh, you can't script this.
Oh.
Boom. Alright, so the Draconum will be going first. So it falls to me to introduce how this works. Now, as he was saying about the point value being on the dial, all the information about the pieces are located on the base dial of these individual army members. Now, traditionally, before the match happens, there is a predetermined number of turns that you have agreed to. We have agreed to 3 turns per turn. So you see that I have 3 stones as markers. I also have 3 black stones as markers, but we'll get into what those mean on the next turn. Since I get to go first, I now have 3 turns to advance my army either towards his army or into strategic locations. The movement of these individual pieces are on the base. This Demophant, for instance, can move 8 inches. Bam! And that's from the center of the dial. Center of the dial. I moved my Demophant. I'm going to mark it. This Whelp Monk can move up 9 inches. And Rajalon, who happens to be a Draconum hero, can move 11 inches. I will move him up in base contact with the Whelp Monk. Base contact is established when the 2 bases of pieces are in contact with each other. This is important. Base contact is an important rule in Mage Knights.
Because if the figures are touching, that means the figures are grouped, like mine are, individually.
It is your turn.
Another reason it's important, with these Crystal Bladesmen, they also have a movement of 8 inches. So, measuring from the center dot out to 8, and since they're in base contact, I can move the entire group for 8 inches, and that counts as one single turn. Now, something else to know about the center dot. Actually, we're getting to that when you shoot at me. So let me go ahead and move something in range, or try to get something in range of your Draconum here.
Well, don't sacrifice cavalry to it.
Yeah.
Move a group up, because then we get to have fun with Flame Lightning, too.
This is true. Flame Lightning is a wonderful, wonderful thing. Alright, move him back. So we're going to move this group up. Try to get it closer there. Now, my cavalry over here, would be a good time to talk about one of the abilities. Green on the movement dial, a green square. This is called Charge. Charge gives you 2 different options. Now, this cavalry figure has a movement of 7 inches. I can move him 7 inches into base contact with something, or instead of making a base combat attack, I can move him double his movement, which will be a total of 14. So, we are going to move him up 14 inches, measuring from the center dot. That is where my thumb is at. Cavalry are a fast-moving piece. They're a little pricey in the point value, but they make up with that in speed and efficiency, especially if you have a large number of them. And I will now pass the turn over to TJ, who he will go further into the tokens.
Yes, it is my turn, and I have spent my 3 tokens, but that's why I have 3 black tokens. Now, in Mage Knight, a piece can't go every turn without suffering a penalty. In fact, a piece can't go more than 2 turns in a row without being what is called frozen, also unable to move for a turn. If you do use a piece twice in a row, it gets what is called pushing damage, which is just 1 click of damage to that base. Now, this can be negated by special abilities like toughness and invulnerability, but most pieces don't have that. So choose wisely if you have a small army like mine and you're forced to move another piece. Or you can always forego that last token. Now, we're not going to go through what every special ability that every possible piece can have, because then we'll be here forever.
Because, as you saw, there was a lot of them.
But included with this video is a link to a PDF of a special abilities card and the complete consolidated rules of Mage Knights. Now, I have 3 turns and a decision to make. Do I push one of my characters, or do I just use the 2 tokens and forego the next turn? Well, I'm going to make that decision here in a moment. First, I'm going to move my healer, the Mystic Draconum, into a range closer to the rest of my army. And I'm going to make sure that he has a buffer from this cavalry that I see coming, with this little exposable scale-sworn Scalesworn Thrall. Here's the decision. Decision time. Decision time. I am going to push. No, I'm not going to push. I'm going to forego the rest of my turn. And I'm going to collect the tokens that I used the beginning turn. Now they are available to me for the next turn. John.
Kind of imagine it like an A team and a B team, if that helps matters any. So, since he didn't push, I'll give you a demonstration of how you would proceed with the whole pushing concept. I'm going to do this with my yellow elf over here, since he's a weaker. I guess since I mentioned yellow, I should go into the stars of figures. It's another detail about the bases. You'll notice on each dial that there are stars, and that their colors are yellow, blue, red. This indicates a rarity value or strength value, mostly a strength value with the figures. 1 star or yellow is weak, 2 stars blue is about medium, 3 and red is strong. If they have no stars, which are mostly on TJ's figures, they are a very rare figure and a unique or general, if you will. So let's get into demonstrating pushing. So we got an 8-inch movement. I'm just going to Leroy Jenkins this and run him up here. I will put a token down. Now since I have moved him and he does not have invulnerability or toughness, which is silver or orange on the defense, I'm going to click him. So I will turn his base dial, and as you notice, his stats have changed.
He's a bit weaker.
He's a bit weaker.
And also, he is frozen now, so John cannot move that piece his next turn.
This is true. So we are going to move this cavalry up. Now this cavalry is a little different. Instead of a 7 for his movement, he has the same ability as the previous cavalry, but instead of 7 inches, he has, instead of 7 inches, he has 5 inches. So he moves for 10 on double movement. And I am going to take this group and move them into base contact with these two and collect my previous tokens.
Now comes the fun part. He's moved guys into range of my guys. That means some blood can be shed. Finally, you get to see these dragon-looking guys, which, I mean, the intricacies of these pieces are pretty cool. But now we get to see these dragon guys start taking pot shots at some of these elves and tear them up. So, the first thing that I am going to do is measure out. Now, there are 2 ways to attack in Mage Knight. There is base contact attacking, base combat, or there is ranged combat. This can be found on the base dial. If we look at this piece, this Demophant, we can see on its dial, do you see the 2 arrows and the 14? That means that this piece can shoot twice for 14 inches. Now 14 inches is the longest range of any piece in Mage Knight. This is once again demonstrating to you how boss Draconums are. I'm going to measure out 14 inches. Anything close enough can take it.
And that 14 inches is directly over the center dot. That is important.
That's how I know that this Demophant has range.
And because this is hindering terrain, he can shoot over or through it.
Yes. Now, before I make this shot, I want to do some strategy. My Whelp Monk, this piece, he has an ability called Stealth, which means that when he is in base contact with any terrain, like this, where this is hindering terrain, this tree is hindering terrain, this is blocking terrain. This cannot be shot through. He has Stealth, which means that if he is in base contact with any kind of terrain, he can't be shot. So he is essentially invisible. And I'm going to give him a token for the movement. I am also going to take some aggression out on this Crystal Bladesman who had the nerve to run up on me. Raijalon has a range of 10. So even though they're not in base contact, he can shoot him. He has a range combat of 0, meaning he cannot shoot. So Raijalon has the advantage and he is about to take it. Now we're introducing attacking. If you've seen on these stat dials, there's a series of numbers. One of the numbers has a shield next to it on the bottom, and another one of the numbers has a sword next to it. And you can see those two icons. Now the sword is your attack value, and the shield is your damage value. What you want to do with your attack roll is combine your attack number plus what you roll and beat the other piece's defense. Raijalon's attack is 11. The Crystal Bladesman defense is 14. So all I have to do is roll a 3 or better.
Yep.
And I have 2 dice. That is 8, so that is a hit. I see that Raijalon does 4 points of damage.
So I will take my Crystal Bladesman and I will click him for 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, as you can see, his base styles have changed, and they have changed to skulls. Skulls means your figure is dead. So we will place him outside of the game. That is a kill, and I will come over here and collect my token.
Now I have one more shot, and where Raijalon had a straight shot and a clear shot to his target, the Demophant does not have that. Since it is shooting through this hindering terrain, it will take a -2 to its attack roll. The Demophant's attack roll is 12. The defense of this, what is that? This Silith Bladesman is that 15?
That is 16.
It's 16. So given that I have to -2 on the Demophant's attack, that I have a 10 rolling on a 16. So I must roll a 6. I do not. I miss. Sad day. With that, my turn is spent, and I collect my tokens.
Now, interesting thing about attacks and hitting defenses. Let's say he would have rolled a 6. I know we said his defense is 16. That still would have been considered a hit, because it's still considered beating the defense, because you got the defense. So if you roll the defense or roll over it, you hit. It's only when you roll under it that you miss. Now, something I'm going to talk about since he missed is Snake Eyes. And, of course, double 6s real quick. These are critically important. If you roll Snake Eyes, it doesn't matter if you got the defense or not. You missed.
And you hit yourself.
And you hit yourself. You're taking a click of damage that cannot be reduced.
Even if you have toughness or invulnerability, you roll Snake Eyes, you dropped your sword on your foot, your magic blew up in your face, you're taking it.
Yep. Now, double 6s, that's where it gets fun. Because not only did you hit regardless whether you beat the defense or not, but you also add 1 additional point of damage onto your damage that you do. So if you do 4, you go up to dealing 5. So Snake Eyes and double 6s are special things, and it makes it really cool and exciting when you roll those. So let's see if I get lucky.
Well, it's cool for double 6s. It's exciting for the other person on Snake Eyes.
In fact, I got an opportunity here that I'm going to take with my cavalry figure over here. Now, as I mentioned with charge, you can move an attack or move double your movement. Now, we have a 7 inches, but that's not going to put me into base combat with him. So I'm going to have to move 8 inches. So that was 8 inches, and that ends his turn. Because remember, I covered that earlier. It's 1 inch too far away.
It's a game of inches.
It is. Alright, so now, thankfully, that even though I can't shoot him, I can still see him. So we are actually going to take my Crystal Bladesman here, and I'm going to move the blue one into base combat with this whelp, and the others are going to be still basing him, but they cannot get into base contact with him. And the others, I'm going to move them forward. So I'm going to go ahead and finish that turn off and pass my turn over to you.
Alright. Well, I am unhappy that the Demophant missed. But an opportunity has been given to her. This group of Crystal Bladesmen that have moved up silly into her range do not realize that she has an ability called Flame Lightning. And now what Flame Lightning is going to do is it's going to deal damage not just to the lead piece, but to every piece that is basing it. Alright? So, we've got this Crystal Bladesman right here. I understand that I used a Demophant last turn, but sometimes the push just gots to be done. And we're going to shoot this Crystal Bladesman right here. Now, once again, we're still going through hindering terrain, but it's a 10 on a 15 this time. Oh man, I was hoping for double sixes.
That would have been great.
I was like, ah! Alright, now, according to the traditional Mage Knight rules, if I want to use Flame Lightning, then each piece is only going to take one. But the fun of all nerd games are house rules. And that always seemed dumb to us. The Demophant can do 4, Flame Lightning 4. All 4 of these guys, all 3 of these guys take 4. All the ones that were in base contact with this piece. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Take 4.
So it is important to note something real quick. I will get into another video discussing house rules. When is it good to make them and when it is not. For now, it's important that you understand just the base rules. So even though we're using this house rule, just focus mainly on the base rules. So, 1. Oh, that's not good. 2, 3.
What was the last? Okay. Of course, the Demophant took its pushing damage. Blup. Alright, still have 2 turns left. I don't know if I'm gonna. You know what?
Something to point out. You should explain why you can't shoot this guy, even since he's in base contact with your monk.
That is right. I could not shoot this guy because the Demophant has 2 shots, which I will get into his second shot here shortly. But I could not shoot this one because it is in base contact with mine. And if an enemy's piece is in base contact with an ally, you cannot shoot that piece. Now, for the Demophant's second shot, I still got this Silith Bladesman. Still a 10 to, is it still 10? Nope, now it's a 9. 9 to a 16. On 7. Boom! 4!
Now, we did mention negating abilities on your defenses, such as toughness and invulnerability. This guy, you see that he has an orange square on his defense. This is called toughness. Toughness negates 1 click of damage to a range combat attack, unless
to any attack.
To any attack, unless specified from certain abilities, which we'll discuss later. So,
but anyways, he's only taken 3 instead of the 4, but still, he's taking it.
2, 3. So, as you can see, after that 3 clicks, the abilities and stats, they've all changed.
Now, I am going to move. I still have 2 turns.
Okay.
I'm going to move my Scale-Sworn Thrall to the back of the Unicorn Blade Master, so we can talk about Backstrike next turn. And then I'm going to use my last turn to heal my Demophant. Now, Magic Healing is an ability that the Mystic Draconum has. He can heal anybody within his range for a D6 roll. Actually, you know, that's a house rule, isn't it?
That is a house rule. The original rule Just show them what the original one is. You'll see why we did the house rule.
Yeah. The real rule for Mage Knight is I make a ranged combat attack on my ally with magic healing. So I have to beat the Demofen's defense, and actually, according to the real rules, the Demofen can't get healed anyways because it has magic immunity.
This is true.
Okay, well that's stupid. We hate those rules, and it's part of house rules. You know what? I'm healing my Demofen. Heal my Demofen for 2. That's how we play. The way that makes sense.
When healing a figure and trying to beat the defense, the other problem we ran into was if your figure had an ability that buffed the defense, you would need to consider that. So if you have a Mending Priest, which has an attack value of 8, versus a Storm Golem, who has a defense of 18 plus battle armor, which gives it +2 to its defense when it's getting shot at.
Pastoral double 6s just a heal. It's like, who says, you know what, no, don't heal me.
Yeah.
Don't heal me. I know I'm almost dead, but you know what? Don't.
It just didn't make sense to us. So,
we play is better.
mainly because we mainly did these house rules because we play large-scale games.
Yeah.
Okay.
Alright, so now it's my turn. I got a nice little opportunity to show off another fun little ability. And that ability is called Weapons Mastery. Now, let's go to this cavalry figure real quick. You'll notice on, well, let me turn right side up. Right there by the sword, there's a red square. This is called Weapons Mastery. Weapons Mastery is a gamble, and I would recommend that you look, also when doing this, I'd recommend you consider the damage point, which is right there on the explosion. If it's 4 or more, I would advise not doing it. But that's just a personal preference. So, once again, 2 6-sided dice. I will look at Rigelon and see what his defense is, which is 19.
Gross. And
my attack is 10. I need to roll a 9.
Get it. Get it. You didn't get it.
We did not get it. Now, I'll go ahead and explain what it basically does. And the likelihood, and the, let's just say for the sake of argument I made that. I would take a 1d6 and I would roll that and I would deal 4 clicks of damage.
Instead of what it says on the base.
Yeah, which would have been 3. Now, it's a gamble because you can do anywhere from 1 to 6 clicks of damage. And that, my friends, was a push. So he will take his click of damage.
For nothing!
Now, some figures, once again, abilities and numbers change. Sometimes they keep their abilities a little bit. Other times they'll lose them. It just kind of depends on the figure. So, we are going to move him for 7. And that's all he's going to move. Since he no longer has his charge and his stats changed. And I will move these guys up and I will end my turn. Fun thing that you can do when moving figures is you can change the formation. They don't have to be in a little pod like that. You can move and reposition them how you see fit. I will collect my tokens.
Alright, it's my turn. And things are looking bleak for the elves, aren't they? Well, going to get bleaker. Rigelon is going to smack this dude on a unicorn.
Do him first.
No, I'm going to do him first. Weaken him.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Because he has a higher attack. Now, I have 2 pieces that are going to attack the same guy. Now, when this happens, you always want to consider who was the stronger. Whoever is stronger, let them swing first to give the other guy a better chance to hit. So Rigelon is going to swing first. He has an 11 on a 16. That is a hit right there. So he is going to take 4 to the face or to the horn.
1, 2, 3, 4. Now it puts his defense at 14.
And this dude on a unicorn isn't out of the woods yet, because I'm going to go ahead and push my Scale-Sworn Thrall.
Now it's important to know, as the Scale-Sworn Thrall is attacking, you have arcs on these. The white arc on the front is the visual arc, or line of sight. It represents what this figure can see. So if you notice these little lines right here, anything behind that line, he's not seeing. Now this gray line, which the Scale-Sworn Thrall is basing, that is the back arc. That means this not only can this guy not see behind him, it means he does not know that that figure is behind him.
He's about to take an extra click of damage if the Scale-Sworn Thrall attacks. This is called a back strike. So I have 10 on a
14.
Oh! Double sixes!
Oh! And what a way to introduce
So
this.
that's adding 2. So he hits for 3, plus 1 for the double sixes, plus 1 for the back strike. He dropped a 5 burger on that unicorn.
So,
take your click of damage. Pushing.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. How many times did he die? Leave that down in the comments below. But yes, that is a very dead unicorn. And those are popular right now.
Yeah. Well, Scale-Sworn Thrall didn't care. I have one more turn. I am going to use it with my Whelp Monk. I'm going to attack the Crystal Bladesman in front of him. Now the Whelp Monk also has that cool Weapons Master ability. I've got 9 on an 11. 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. That is a hit. I'm going to use his Weapons Master for 5. That's 5 damage he just did with his claws and his little mace.
1, 2, well, I'm not even gonna bother clicking in because I know he's dead.
I mean, look at this cool little guy. Look at him. He's just running around, he's bapping people with that mace, giving him the palm. He's like, whatevs. So, that is going to end our turn, this turn. Now, we could go back and forth like this, you know, and it's looking grim for the elves. But we want to also introduce you to the 2.0 that we were talking about earlier. So we are going to take our armies and we're going to increase their points from 300 to 800 and make up that point difference with 2.0 pieces.
And one last thing I want to point out, which is something I'd like people, which I got a request for this video to clarify some confusion. 1.0, I just want to point out how this base style looks. Everything was kept simple, and that simplicity is what sold this game and made it popular. I'd like all of you to keep that in mind. Now remember when things were looking a little bleak for the elves? Well, they just got help from these 2.0 elven uniques, and I have 2 soldiers here. And the Draconums seem to be joining that little help party of 2.0.
They heard the call. So some 2.0 Draconum also joined the fight. We've increased the point value of the armies from 300 to 800, made up the difference with 2.0, and we've also increased the number of turns per turn from 3 to 6 to make up for their arrival.
Yes.
Now we'll get into the big difference between 2.0 and 1.0, but the biggest, most glaring is how he ended the last segment. The simplicity of 1.0, show him a 2.0.
You have your information on the top of the dial is, let me find it, it is different colors now. You have sub-faction abilities, which are right here. You have different types of attack dials, or symbols. Even on the base, on the shield, You have a little wand that you need to look for, which is kind of hard to see. There was a blue in 1.0. They had a blue defense ability, which was magic immunity. They got rid of it and changed it to a shield with a wand on it, and that's magic immunity. An orange square on movement with a creature with wings in 1.0 was flight. They changed the foot to a wing
to indicate flight.
So
the ability wouldn't have to be on the dial. And I understand what they did. I understand what they were thinking. I get it. But in the end, they just made it too complex. They introduced too many new abilities. They reworked old abilities, renamed them, and labeled them with different colors than they were in 1.0. Some really good pieces came out of 2.0, some really beefy beasts, and when we have Mage Knight fights, I'm always feeling 2.0 with my 1.0 army. But for people who are just getting into it, I can see why it fell apart for them.
Yeah. Like with the confusion and everything, and then the weapon slots, they took simplicity and they made it complicated. And when you take something that works and you break it, it no longer works.
Right? Why change what was already working? But they did, and the game suffered because I believe that they only came out with 3 or 4 2.0 sets before they folded.
I think it was 4 to 5, if memory. Nexus which is what this figure is from, because this is a remake of the Amethyst Knight from 1.0, and they remade it and turned it into a troop. Nexus was the last expansion they made. I'm not counting Resurrection.
Nobody should count Resurrection.
I'll get into that hot mess another time.
Alright, so we still have our fight going on. It is the elves' turn, and they have their assistants. Please, John, proceed.
So, in the fun of going with movement abilities, I like to point out the red square on your movement. This is a wonderful ability. It is called Quickness. Now, I recommend that if you got any good figures with Quickness, that you abuse that ability religiously, because it is a free movement action. So we have a movement of 8 and we have a movement of 12. So I am going to take Lord Volantis with his movement of 12 and move him for free here. Now, because I've used Quickness and I did not put a token, and it doesn't require a turn or a token, on my next turn he can actually shoot and he will not take a click of pushing. That is why Quickness is so nice. I'm gonna take Gulther here. I'm gonna move him up. Now I got a few more figures over here. I'm gonna move them real quick. We got a 6 and a 9 with bound. I'm just going to move them both up for 10, about right here. Drop one of my tokens. Oh, he also has Quickness.
Aww.
Yeah. You and your Cheetos.
TM. Trademark. Cheetos. Trademark.
Alright, so I'm just going to be moving figures real quick. And...
Does that have Quickness?
No. Nope. That one.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Now he's Cheetioing. Cheetioing. TM.
And take it away.
He decided not to move with the rest of his pieces, for they would all be frozen from the pushing. So, it's back to the Draconum. Now, something the 2.0 release that I actually kind of liked, but then they abused and broke that as well, were the weapon slots. Now, you can see on the 2.0 dial, it has all these extra little slots around it. It's a bigger dial, and they have those slots. You will also see that he has this book put in there. That is a weapon. Now, each weapon came with a corresponding card. Alright? And the weapon was right here. You pop it out and you put it in here. On the other side of the card, it gives a little explanation of what it does. With this weapon, Vithrai has a +1 to his attack, +1 to his defense, and the ability Ghost Form, which means he cannot be shot. Also, you will see on here that the card has a wand, meaning only figures with the wand type can use this. He just happens to have the wand type attack. Now, I did like what they started doing with the weapons, but as more sets came out, they came up with spells and spell books and then frickin' domains, and they just made it too complex. They tried to make it Dungeons and Dragons, only with pieces. And if people wanted to play Dungeons and Dragons, they would have just played Dungeons and Dragons. They wanted to play Mage Knights. But I do like some of the weapons, so I have one equipped to Vithrai. Vithrai has Bound, which means he can move, and then he can shoot. He can move for 10 inches and shoot for 14. I am going to welcome this guy to the game. Welcome to the game. 5 to your face.
And even thought the Gate Knight, which is an LE figure that I managed to acquire, has an 18 defense. He has no defensive ability. He is taking that.
He's taking all that 5.
He's taking that 5.
That was a 14 attack, by the way. I should have pointed that out before I rolled. But Vithrai has a high attack. He knows it. He knows that when Vithrai rolls the dice, there's a very high chance you're taking the 5.
Mm-hmm. It's true.
The Demophant is going to shoot again through this. You know what? This isn't hindering terrain anymore on this one.
Nope.
First shot right here. We got 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Yep, got you for 4. Second shot for the Demophant is going to be 12, 10, because this is through hindering terrain. 10 on an 11. And that's 4 right here as well. Here this is perished. Here this is perished. I'm going to push Rajalon for he also has Flame Lightning. I've got an 11 on 15s right here. So I've got 4s. Once again, you are seeing a demonstration of how strong Draconum are in this game. An army of Draconum is mean. Take a quick push. I am going to move this group 8 inches. Once again, as John pointed out, I can regroup these guys however I want to as they've moved. But because they're a whole unit, they can move as one.
Throne Monk.
Then I am going to heal Rajalon.
Very nice.
Rajalon is frozen. I collect my pieces. And it is John's turn to see if these elves can pull it out.
Now, something I want to point out real quick. I'm going to put a token here to mark him. Yeah, this guy will be good one. Something I want to point out real quick. I'm going to show you again these dials. Notice the bow attack symbol and the sword attack symbol. Notice the abilities. Some figures had abilities. I'm just going to throw this out here because I don't have the ability card on me, but they would have like a green circle for both attack and
for both bow attack and for a sword attack.
It's like,
so it would become confusing.
And they would be two completely separate abilities.
Yeah.
And that's where a lot of confusion went. Alright, so let's go over another reason that made 2.0 complicated, and that is abilities. I am going to use a Nexus ability along with attack ability. A Nexus ability, if you see right there is off to that side, just really, really tiny. That is a Nexus ability. It's like an additional ability. So we're going to move Lord Volantis up here. That was bound. So, and we're going to use this green circle, which is Arcing Fire. Now, if you notice on the ability, he's got a +2 to the side of his bow, which made no sense to me. It's an attack bonus.
Yeah. It basically means if he's shooting with his bow, he gets +2 to his attack. If it's just base combat, then it's just what's on the dial.
Mm-hmm. So we got a 12 for Arcing Fire. Now, note that this was hindering terrain. Arcing Fire?
That's blocking terrain.
Or blocking terrain. Blocking or hindering terrain doesn't matter with Arcing Fire. I can shoot over people. So, I'm going to pop Rigel on here.
I'm surprised you didn't pop the healer.
And, you know what? Well, I got a range of 12, so is he in range?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, he is in range. Okay, let's pop the healer.
You pop him for enough, I'll never be healing again.
And let's pop the Rigel on. So we got a 12 on a 19. I got 2 shots here. And I did not succeed.
Which one did you shoot first?
The healer.
Oh, the Mystic escaped. Arrow just landed over here.
Yup. What's Rigel on's?
19.
19? Alright.
Come on, buddy.
Well, we didn't get it. Well, in the case that I would have got...
depressed.
They really are. In the case that I really would have got it, red circle on his dial is Pierce. Toughness and vulnerability are ignored. The arrow hits and they take that full damage. So, because we're a little pressed for time here, I'm going to go ahead and end my turn here. You kind of got a feel for 2.0. TJ would like to talk to you about something very special.
You might have seen him lurking on the sides over here. This is when Mage Knight gets really fun. When you have the huge armies and you have the huge pieces. This is a legal Mage Knight piece. This is the Storm Dragon form. This is a dragon. There are several other dragons. There are tanks. There are large single-dialed titans. So there are many other variations of pieces into this game that made it great.
Shouldn't stand.
This particular dragon came with this stand because it's a limited edition and I'm a nerd. So yeah, this is his stand that it came with. It is individually numbered too, by the way. But of course it doesn't matter because I've totally played with this piece and I can't even tell you if these are his original wings or not just some other polarized dragons. But it is still cool to have it, and I honestly use it as terrain more than anything else. But when you start doing larger scale battles and when you read through the rules of the game and you realize that some of these rules are stupid and you need to make your own house rules, watch our next video all about the best house rules of Mage Knights. And then we'll do a great big fight and we'll show you a table full of these little guys and some of these guys. Because when one of these guys, if this guy was in this fight and he was just like, yeah, and drop down right here, it would suck for everybody that was in there. It would just really suck for them. Because he would be able to attack 4 different times from each side. You get bitten by his face, smacked by his tail, and whopped by each wing.
Dragons are fun.
Dragons are fun. Anything to add?
You kind of get a feel, see the difference between 1.0, 2.0. I will make another video further detailing the complications of 2.0 and try to clear up some of the confusion. But yeah, this was your demo. For those people starting out, I think I would recommend going 1.0 figures at first.
Run 1.0 until you really got a feel for the game and you're at a point where you're like, oh, well, I wish I had beefier characters. And then scour eBay and find you some decent 2.0 like Conrava.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cossack Darkbringer.
Cossack Darkbringer.
Vithorai.
Vithorai. if you can get a hold of a Lord Volantis, best of luck to you.
He's just bragging about his $100 piece.
Yeah, like Rigel and this guy. They're bragging rights. Nerd. Well, I hope you enjoyed this. Like, subscribe. Be sure to check me out on Twitter and Facebook. And I would greatly appreciate it if you checked out Chronicles of Bathrix on Amazon right now. It's an ebook that I publish, a novella. Link will be below. Thank you, and have a wonderful day.
And play Mage Knights.
And play Mage Knights.